This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Bring it on home to me.
And welcome back to CL 650. We're talking about aging and parents getting older and where they're going to live. They maybe have a house and they don't need that much space, maybe downsizing and finding somewhere where they can really be comfortable and stay for a long period of time and adjust as their maybe health concerns change through the decades. Opal by Element is at the corner of King Edward and Cambie, and it's going to be finished in the spring of 2019. And joining us in studio is Candy Ho, Director and Vice President, Marketing and Corporate Relations. Also, Greg Condon, Vice President, Operations at Element. So, with Greg, your background in the hospitality industry, you worked in hotels,
Yes.
and restaurants, and then you worked in retirement communities. So, what do you think, with your background and how you're going to be able to implement a difference at Opal by Element? What do you think it's going to look like?
Well, I think I'd like to give you a little background on some of the challenges we face as an industry. But in simple terms, and it applies to the hospitality industry, also in many other businesses, but in particular our business, the thing, every seniors community has is 4 walls and a bed. Every hotel has 4 walls and a bed, but the biggest difference is the people. And those, trying to meet real human needs on a day-to-day, day-in, day-out basis and those relationships that we form. So I think the way and the manner that we run our buildings is important. And I firmly believe in creating a values-based organization whereby we create a sense of purpose for our staff. A happy staff equals happy residents equals great success.
I go by the happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, it's kind of much in the same way. If people have a sense of purpose in the work in the work that they do, and it can really make a huge difference. And there's certain things that we plan to do with our staff and in the way we set up our people and culture program that will create a sense of commitment for them. Most people that work in seniors homes don't do it for the money. Whereas they're trying to do something meaningful. And at the end of the day, it's about doing something meaningful and doing something you enjoy. So I plan to create that kind of environment as I did in my previous job. So one thing in particular that we like to do is create a sense of ownership with the staff. So that they think like owners, so that there's
buy-in, right?
Yeah, buy-in and think like owners. Think about empower them to do the right thing when it comes to meeting residents' changing needs, anticipating their needs, creating a situation where they don't have to worry about job security. I intend on having a no layoff policy for our staff. I intend on advocating for every permanent employee to be on a salary versus a typical union-style, employer-employee relationship where they're paid an hourly wage. Where we're not even I don't even want to have time clocks in our buildings. And I think at the end of the day, if we treat people like salaried employees, they'll behave like responsible salaried employees. So that's sort of a little bit on how we'll have a good compensation plan, but that's in alignment with key performance indicators around resident satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and obviously, results are a byproduct of those things. But I'd like to speak a little bit about some of the challenges we face as an industry and some of the things that I've learned in the past 10 years that I think if we address correctly, we can really give us a competitive edge and perhaps help grow the entire industry. But the three key barriers in our industry, Zach, are the stigma about aging. People have in many, in other cultures, aging. You're not even considered an old person, and I say that with due respect. But until you reach like the age of 70 or 75, 80, there's cultural norms that we deal with. For example, many cultures. I'm Greek Orthodox, and in our culture, it's not considered yet appropriate to put your mom, dad, or loved one in the seniors community. and there's a misperception about what seniors community living is all about. You know, people from the silent generation, my late mother's generation, viewed that as a nursing home or one step closer to the grave, which in fact the complete opposite is true.
Absolutely.
And then thirdly, the government, I don't think really knows where their responsibility begins and ends for older adults. And as a result of that, the math doesn't work. We can't possibly as a society provide, a subsidized seniors housing for anyone that wants it. It's just not, it doesn't work that way. And I think, and as a result of that, the government encourages home care. You know, and there's a lot of good evidence to support people staying at home as long as they can to be independent. However, it doesn't address the fact that people get lonely. And the reality is we're
isolation, right?
Isolation and loneliness. And there is evidence to suggest that it can contribute to early onset Alzheimer's or dementia. So, and in many cases, what I've seen is that once people start moving into a vibrant, lively, and fun community, that it can reverse that process, and in many cases, give them a healthier and more wholesome lifestyle.
Yes. Now, Candy, one of the things about Opal by Element is it's not it's not huge, right? You have 44 residential condominium units, and then 56 senior rental units, and then 30 senior complex care units. Those are people who are needing more care as they get older. Right?
Yes, the complex care part. Yes.
Yeah. So, I guess with that, you're really able to dial into what their needs are, what their habits are, what their quirks are,
and create. We want vibrancy in the activities and the diverse programming that we provide that engages everybody, and then you get to socialize with the people who share your interests. So it becomes a lot more intimate. You don't want a place that's so full of people, but you kind of get just lost in the big cruise ship, right? You want to be having meaningful relationships with people that share your interests. So we try to develop places that have a sense of place, that's why this kind of scale is good. And so, but beyond that, the vibrancy comes from the family that visit, and then also bringing them out into the local community so they still continue to feel that they're contributing.
Now, you've told stories of families coming in and buying for parents that are coming up to retirement age or already retired, along with their children.
The sandwich generation, and then the sandwich generation may have also their younger children stay or at least regularly come for the activities.
Is that bringing the average age of Opal by Element down?
Yes, it is.
Give us an example of what typical retirement communities.
Typical retirement community average age is 87, and it keeps creeping up. If it is about need, then it is that's where the age keeps going up. But for us, because we're allowing the family to stay.
And lifestyle
retirement. That's why I kind of veer away from now calling it's not a senior home, and it's barely even a retirement home. It is an intergenerational family residence that provides the aging in place services. Yes, so our average age is in the 60s, have lots of...
that's 20 years. That's quite a difference.
That's 20-year difference. And so that's when you say, like, the people, the staff create the tone, and the people that are our residents create the tone of vibrancy as well. So when you have... It's no longer just the old people living together. You've got young children and school-age children, university children, all the way up, then it's no longer an old folks environment that they should feel ashamed of.
It's just a community.
Yeah, and then they don't need to perceive that they're being placed in the, because their family doesn't want to or doesn't have the ability or time to take care of them, because when you have this family home and they're going to be living there or visiting regularly, and every aspect of our activities programming is designed to encourage that. We don't just specialize and provide in old age challenges. It's like a lot of our yoga and our dance and our ping pong and games rooms, they're all designed to have kids involved or adult children involved. Our arts and crafts also would be painting together with the kids. So,
Now, you mentioned your Greek background.
Yes.
And, the younger generation looked after the older generation, often lived together. Do you think there's a change with some of those cultures, that it's a lot of pressure on maybe your age to look after parents? Are people being more open to moving into somewhere like Opal by Element?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I just finished my MBA with Queen's, and one of my...
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it proves that you're never too old to go back. I was one of the oldest guys in the class. But the point is, my thesis was on older adult respite care. And it revolved around what respite care is. The way I refer to it is an opportunity to give the primary caregiver a break so that they can go on vacation. You know, the studies that I've done, I was able to find evidence that showed that people are getting burned out. The sandwich generation, you know, they're busy, you know, and usually it's the eldest daughter or the eldest son in some cases.
Or the closest child to
geographically.
Geographically.
Yes, yes.
So in my case, so there's a lot of pressure on those people. My mom passed away in May and had sort of a slow battle with cancer, but we knew it was coming. And my two siblings in Calgary got the brunt of helping her after my dad died 11 years prior. And it was part of it was cultural expectation that they would, you know, help her out and be there for her. And, you know, this is where, you know, and again...
Did you see your brother and sister get burned out?
They felt behooved to help her, and they have their own young families to deal with, and my sister's got her own job, and many people are in a similar situation. This is where community living in the style of building that community that we have can provide a solution versus home care. There's a lot of great home care companies out there, don't get me wrong, and I say this with all due respect, but the primary caregiver still has to arrange doctors. My mom was like constantly going to doctor's appointments, arranging her home care, arranging the caregivers, arranging this, arranging that, and on top of that, trying to deal with that. Whereas if you're living in a proper seniors home, a seniors community, you can have people that help with that, and you get that peace of mind. But you know, I'll share a quick story with you. And my mom moved into a building run by a large faceless corporation in Toronto. I'm not going to name the name. In Calgary, a very high quality building, I might add, great amenities. And when this was after a round of chemo treatments, and she wasn't quite well enough to live on her own. So we all agreed, including herself, that this would be okay. And she had a great life there. I moved her in. I've never seen her so happy since my dad passed away. You know, she had, you know, a chef preparing professional meals for her, professionally organized recreation, hydrotherapy in the swimming pool. She, you know, Calgary's 20 below in the winter. She could, you know, scoot her little walker around and do 3 kilometers within the building without going outside. You know, so she had a private driver, you know, a driver to take her shopping and do activities and
so it's a big relief for her and for your siblings, right?
But in the end, her girlfriends, her Greek lady friends would come visit, and they go, "Wow, you know, they're living in $2 million homes," and they're going, "Wow, this is pretty good," you know. And in fact, one day I remember my mom bragging to me about, you know, how she was showing off the community. But in the end, she ended up, and she made great friends there. But in the end, the cultural norm of the stigma attached to, you know, if you put me here, you're bringing shame to the family. And this is the thing that many cultures struggle with, whether East Indian, Chinese, Greeks, Italians, Portuguese. It's a very common theme. And in reality, it's not. The opposite is true. And
Candy, that's where you're saying the family can come along for the ride, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And this is the difference with Opal and our Element communities, where these are purpose-built communities versus the faceless corporation from Toronto that's acquired 20. That were all built by different people for different purposes, and in some cases, you know, doorways aren't even wide enough
for access,
proper or you know. So the key touch points in our business will be revolving around family-oriented spaces. So, for example, Opal will have some wonderful family gathering private rooms.
I'll tell you what. Why don't we take a quick break?
Sure, I'd like
when
to
we
tell
come
more.
back,
Okay.
Because I've heard about the facilities, and it's quite exciting. And we'll tell you more about Opal by Element and what's to come when it opens in 2 years. Next on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.